That's it. Zanzifx.
Yeah,
Welcome to Cypher. We're
Thank
excited
you
to
for
have
having
you.
me.
I've been looking forward to this interview for a minute, man.
Dude, I've been excited.
Yeah, it's different for me, and you know what I mean? We're going to get into all of what you do, but you're a little bit less on the rapping side and a lot more on the beatboxing side. So
Yeah.
right off the bat, I have to know, how did you get into beatboxing? How did this whole thing start?
So when I was a kid, I was watching American Idol.
Yeah.
It was like the thing for like my family when I was kids to always watch American Idol every year.
Right.
And this one guy, Blake Lewis, came on and he just started beatboxing like crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my, that blew my mind as a kid. I'm
Yeah.
like, you can do that with your voice? Like, what? And then as a kid, I had no idea. Like, I was like probably 5 or 6. So I had like no concept of like
Right.
how to actually structure to make music.
Right.
So I would just make sounds. So growing up, I was like the weird kid that
Yeah.
kind of just make a random sound and be like, ooh, ah. Or if someone poked me, I'd like make a weird sound. I'm like, people were just like, why do you do this?
What the
I'm
hell?
like, it's just me. And then in high school, I was reintroduced to beatboxing, kind of just scrolling through YouTube. I found a British beatboxer named Dave Crow
Yeah.
from the band Hey Moonshaker. And I watched that video and it blew me away that you could do that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And I had just started playing guitar in like the 7th grade, so like a couple years before that. So I started to really get into music and start understand like how to structure music, not just from listening to it, but how to create it.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh my God. So I started beatboxing, trying to mimic what he was doing. I would watch that video, like probably like the video has like millions of views.
Yeah.
It's probably half the
Half of
views
those
are
are just
probably
you.
me, just like
Yeah.
repeating like, how does he do that?
Yeah. Did you like learn theory with it too? Did you have any music theory training in it?
Not for a couple years after that. So
Yeah.
once I started, I was just reading guitar tabs, trying to get. Funny enough, when I started learning how to play guitar, I would read the tablature for the guitar, not really understanding the notes, but I
Right.
would understand the rhythm. So I didn't have like a metronome or anything, so I would keep time like with my right hand. And
Oh, for
that's
sure.
how I learned how to keep rhythm through playing guitar and through beatboxing.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't the best way, I should have
Right.
used the metronome.
Slightly unconventional.
Yeah, because my friends were like, "You can't keep rhythm." Like, no, I'm keeping time. It's just
Right.
way different from you. I'm
It's just different time.
And so that, and actually, my best friend Neil, he's also a beatboxer,
Yeah.
and he started beatboxing around the same time as me in high school. But we were like, we kind of knew each other,
Uh-huh.
and then our sophomore year, like we started like having more classes, and like our friends, we got closer.
Right.
And then I started beatboxing one day during like a drama, we started doing plays together at high school. And so like he started beatboxing. I'm like, wait, you do that too?
Yeah.
I started beatboxing too. And he was like, oh my God. And we just,
Hell yeah.
from then on, I think like 12 years strong now, we've just been
Yeah.
annoying the hell out of everyone with our beatboxing.
Right. It's actually kind of funny. Your story sounds a lot like mine. I like hip hop's my whole thing, you know. Obviously, we have the whole show here. But if it didn't give it away. But no, when I got into it, it was like in high school for me, and it was this one buddy of mine and me. We basically made like a rap group together, just the two of us, right? And we were just walking around high school like rapping these random ass bars that we came up with, and everyone was like, "Yo, what the hell are you guys doing?" And then it started to like kind of sound good, and then we were like, "Oh, maybe we can like kind of do this." Now it didn't sound great, but it sounded good-ish,
Yeah.
you know. And so we were kind of like, you know, the two guys walking around school that were always rapping or whatever. But it was kind of like the same thing, you know. It's like just me and another guy. We got super into it, you know.
Yeah. And then that's
Yeah.
just like, I feel like that's with like pretty much any
Yeah.
like passion. It's just sort of, you find that one other person that like loves it too, and you both just connect. And
Yeah.
it's just like love forever then.
Right. And then you guys, I don't know, you feed off that energy with each other and it just
Yeah.
explodes, you know?
Yeah.
Did you ever think about maybe getting into like rapping as well? Because beatboxing and rapping are so synonymous with each other.
So I've tried.
Yeah.
I am not good at just coming up with words on the spot like that. My
Yeah.
my best friend Neil, he'll do it. He'll freestyle.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not the best. He'll
Right.
force me to beatbox
Yeah.
or rap every once in a while. I'm like, I'll come up with like 4 lines. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm not gonna say anymore because I know I'm just gonna go garbage.
Quit while I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Right. I feel that for sure. I've always kind of felt like that. I'm like, oh, if I spit a really good bar, which didn't happen super often, like off the top of my head, freestyling was always like, you got to work at it. If you don't practice, it's like a muscle. If you don't work it out, it's never gonna get better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So when I was like in my freestyling days, this is forever ago. If you didn't freestyle every day, you lost it pretty quick. You know what I mean? Because it's all like, I don't know. It's just like, it's tough. You got to come up with like, you have to have a big vocabulary to freestyle. You really do.
Yeah.
Or else you're rhyming the same words over and over again.
Yeah, you're rhyming cheese with feet,
exactly.
or
you're going like, I'm at the top. No one's gonna make me stop. It's like, yo, you gotta. There's something. There's other things than being at the top and not stopping.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like everyone does that. So like being a good freestyler is hard. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's like rapping and beatboxing are so like they go so hand in hand together. You know. So it's kind of crazy because rapping's definitely obviously the lyrical side. Beatboxing is more like the sonic side. Like, who are maybe some of your favorite beatboxers that you were kind of like, other than you kind of mentioned that you grew up listening to?
So definitely Rozelle.
Yeah.
Obviously, once I started getting the beatboxing and everything, and digging into the culture of it, finding out like Rozelle, Dougie Fresh, Kid Lucky, like all those guys, they were the pioneers for it, and so they're very much big inspirations. And modern beatboxers like Reaps One, huge, insanely amazing, crazy British beatboxer. And then my buddies at the Beatbox House that we mentioned before the podcast, all of them, they're mind blowing beatboxers and just always inspire me. It's just and like I feel like beatboxing has evolved so much throughout the years that there's so many influential beatboxers now that it's for me the core is like there's like different generations. In my generation, for me, for what I was just hooked on and got hooked on was like Rozelle, Dave Crow, Blake Lewis, Reaps One, and the Beatbox House, and those are like my inspirations for beatboxing. What constantly feed me for wanting to beatbox more.
So it's like I kind of was telling you before the interview, beatboxing for me is relatively new. I don't know as much about it as I do the rap side of things. Like, would you consider, like, do you have like a personalized, like, kind of unique sound that's to yourself, or how do you describe like your style of beatboxing,
So my style of beatboxing, for me, like there's definitely different types of beatboxers. There's definitely the technical side where they're really just sort of doing like focusing on like drum and bass and different patterns like an actual drummer would be. Right. Then there's like the musicality side, which is they focus on more vocal melodies, basses, and sort of incorporating that into rhythms. Yeah. So it's very much like you ever seen like the guitarists that like the solo guitarists are playing like this crazy stuff, but they're also playing like the drums on their guitar at the same time?
Yeah, I have seen that. It's insane.
Musicality beatboxers are like that, and then the technical drummers are mainly technical beatboxers are mainly like are mainly just like insane drummers. Right. And for me, my style, I try and bridge the two, and I've sort of come back from sort of because there's this thing in beatboxing in the community where like everyone's trying to one up each other, even though like everyone's really cool. They're like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta practice this. I gotta make this dope ass pattern. I gotta make this thing.
That was literally my next question. Is like, do you guys try to outdo each other by coming up with sounds of your own all the time?
All the time.
Talk about that.
So everyone, like, I've kind of given up on trying to come up with new sounds every single time because for me it's just there's so many new sounds. And there's so like there are people who are doing like drum and bass songs, but then adding like a bird whistle in the middle of it. Right. And like how do you do that? Where are you breathing? Like, I can understand what you're doing for this, but where does this like?
That's always what I could never figure out. I'm like, yo, when do you guys breathe? It's like Eminem when he's freestyling. He's like 1,000 words and he takes one small breath, and I'm like, how the hell do you get that out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just insane. And like for my style, like I try and bridge the gap. I try and since I also produce music, right? So for me, my outlook is sort of getting a song across, then kind of focusing on trying to blow people's minds. Like, I want to do music. Right. But then, like, because I've realized, because there's a big thing, like, beatbox battles. That's a huge thing in the beatbox community. Yeah. Everyone is trying to be the best beatbox battler they can be. Yeah. Let alone just be the beatboxer that they can be. And it's that mentality of trying to be the best almost like Pokemon trainers. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
trying to be like, you got to be the best.
Yeah, right.
And so it's basically like that, just with
Yeah.
beatboxing on kind of on steroids, because everyone is just insane now.
Yeah, it sounds almost like it sounds exactly like battle rap. You know, everybody
Yeah.
wants. You know, there's a lot of people that want to be the best battle rapper. It sounds very similar to that. You know, just taking a little bit of a step back. For those that don't know, we met at the EOW show at
Yeah.
Chelsea Music Hall, which was dope.
That was
Insane
amazing.
performances. That
Oh
the
my
whole like
God.
every MC that competed that night went crazy. But you got to do like part of Prolific One's set where you were beatboxing with him. Talk about how you met
Yeah.
him and how that kind of came about.
So the way I met Prolific was, so my buddy Chris Elise from the Beatbox House,
Yeah.
he posted, there's a New York beatbox Facebook group chat.
Yeah.
And so he posted in there like, hey, I need 2 beatboxers to do like a hip hop event down in the city. And it was basically for teaching kids from like 4 to 16 the history of beatbox and the different elements of beatbox. And
Prolific does a lot of that stuff, and he does a lot of those
Yeah.
like local art education things. He was actually just in the studio last week with me, and we talked about that stuff.
nice,
Yeah, it was cool.
And so he was running the event with the guys from EOW,
Yeah.
and they asked, I had Chris Lee's, I was like, hey, I can do it.
Yeah,
I went down, met the guys from EOW and all that, and met Prolific, and like we just kind of hit it off and everything. And
dope.
I've done a couple shows with him, like done some I forget the name of he has, but he has like basically like an open mic night kind of thing.
Yeah,
He's trying to do once a month now, and like
right.
that's one just
Yeah.
always top, like just on the spot,
Hell yeah.
just art, beat, rap, MC, everything is just awesome.
Yeah, he's an interesting artist because he kind of considers himself this like just multifaceted creative, you know, like for the longest time he didn't even rap. He was just mostly in the art scene, you know.
Yeah.
He works like all of his merchandise, I don't know if you noticed, is all from like local artists locally in New York here. It's like it's crazy what he's doing with it. So all of his shows, I'm trying to like, you know, get plugged in with him more and do more of his stuff. But it's, you know, it's crazy because, and we're going to talk a little bit about this later, but I guess I might as well ask it now because it's on my mind. The EP that you just put out, and it's called, wait, don't tell me. Scatterbrained. Yep,
Yeah.
Scatterbrained is totally different than the beatboxing that we heard at this EOW show. So I guess kind of like my question is, you know, which style almost do you prefer? Do you prefer more of the scatterbrain kind of like musicality side of things, or are you more on like the, you know, harder beatboxing like Lava Shark side?
So the reason why I call it Scatterbrained is for the reason that I'm so invested in so many different genres of music. Because growing up, I've had all different types of music we're playing. Like my parents are from Ireland, so I'm first generation Irish American, so always hearing like traditional Irish music, and like my dad playing like the oldies, like country and like old classic rock radio all the time. And then my buddies in like grade school and that they were listening to hip hop and listening to rock. And then when I go back home to Ireland to visit my family, they were listening to EDM all the time. So I was just soaking it all in as
this
a
melting
sponge.
pot of sounds, right?
And so when I started playing guitar and then started beatboxing, it was sort of, I could kind of meld, like, I felt like I couldn't just pick one genre to stick with. I couldn't just stick with rock. I couldn't stick with punk music. And I couldn't just stick with hip hop. So it was like, how do I bridge the two? And so my EP was sort of like, what can I just put together that I can get 5 songs that I can concisely finish.
Right.
That wasn't going to just blow my brains. Like, how do I involve beatboxing with this guitar? So how do I involve? And so that's the start of it. And so right now I'm currently producing my second EP and producing music for a podcast. So it's sort of, I'm getting better at like combining the two. And I think definitely beatboxing and the hip hop community is definitely going to be such a big influence because it's such like
Huge.
Every time you go into it, it reinvigorates you, and it's always something new. Like there's always something new. Like the rock scene and everything and punk scene, that you can always go and there's always going to be something new. But it's so you can't just come up with something like a beatboxer or freestyler can like in the moment without, because you have a whole band and everyone has to sort of orchestrate themselves. But when you have sort of a beatboxer and MC going at it, it's sort of it's kind of unstoppable. Like
Yeah, there's almost like there's more room to be like creative on the spot for sure. You know what I mean? There's definitely more of that improv aspect to it, which is really cool. That's it's all the like that all comes from jazz. You know, like hip hop comes from jazz. You know, beatboxing. Like maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I am. Beatboxing comes from hip hop and rap. You know, and the breakbeat part of it all. And so it kind of all comes from the same spot. But it's one of the coolest things about hip hop, in my opinion, is the improv part of it. You know, because in a lot of cases, and you tell me if this is true for beatboxing, but being able to like really freestyle is kind of what differentiates you as an MC. Maybe not necessarily a hip hop artist or whatever, but as an MC, if you can, really freestyle and come up with that stuff, like at the EO Dub show, like what they were doing, like then you're, that's like you have your chops as a rapper. I'm sure as a beatboxer, like if you can come up with all that stuff off the top of your head, that's got to give you, some badges or some stamps in the beatbox community.
Yeah, and definitely, because one thing that you can always tell a good beatboxer from like a great beatboxer, because the two of them can have like the best sounding like style or patterns or like songs, but a good beatboxer sticks to their routines, whereas a great beatboxer, when like they're battling whatever, they can morph their routines and morph their sound to whatever is going on. And like, so when you ever see some of the great beatbox battles, like one guy will do like his like famous routine, and the other guy will like be like, okay, you're gonna do that. He'll steal it real quick and then morph it and then turn it into a new song, and everyone's minds just goes crazy.
That's how you know it's
yeah. So it's like the same thing when MCs, when they're able to go back off one another and sort of kind of try and one up each other, but stay on the same sort of vibe.
Right.
Same thing with beatboxing.
There's these crazy freestylers that you kind of reminded me of just now when you're talking about flipping the style. There's these, it's called King of the Dot. There are these crazy freestylers in Canada, and they do these, big rap battles. It's very similar to like how the Rap Olympics were. And some of the ones that always win are the ones that can take lines from their opponent's last freestyle round, from their last rap, and bake it into their own, you know what I mean? Their own, like their own verse. That was always the most impressive thing. Even watching it, I'm like, he's taking, like, that's how you know it's a true freestyle, because you don't know what the other guy's gonna say. Yeah. So you're kind of pulling it really off the top of your head. Yeah. That gives you real chops. It's got to be the same for beatboxing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you battle a lot?
I
just that reaction gave me.
No, I don't. So my buddies, they have the Beatbox House. They have a party every month. Yeah, and it's basically anyone can come in, try and attempt to, like, basically perform. They have an open elimination round in the beginning. Yeah, to see who will like, and then they'll take the top 8 out of those people who beatbox to battle. Yeah, I haven't gotten into the top 8. I mean, I have battled a couple times, but I haven't since then, because now the level is set so high.
It's got to be competitive as hell.
Oh my god! And like everyone loves each other, but there's always that like under that low key, just like
it's supposed to be competitive, right?
I'm gonna one up you.
It's supposed to be competitive. That's part of hip hop. That's one of my favorite things about it, is that like it can be all love at the end of the day. Sometimes it's not. A lot of the times it's not. There's a lot of violence in hip hop and all this shit. But like, it can be love at the end of the day. But man, if you're battling, or if you're like, if you're putting out a single or whatever, like, this is supposed to be competitive. Yeah. People are supposed to want to win and be the best. Like, that's what it is about hip hop. Like, that the whole battle thing is, I'm better than you at this, or you know what I mean? Maybe you have this on me, but you can't do that like me. Like, I got this or that. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff.
And it pushes the art so much further, because it makes everything better. Because once everyone's trying to one up each other, the whole art form just gets better.
Exactly. It's just like athletes. It's just how they always, you know what I mean? They always want to be better than each other. It's the same with this shit. It's the same with this stuff. So kind of just like taking a bit of a step back, talking about Lava Shark. That's you and your buddy. Yeah. First of all, the first dive is dope. This is the first. this is the first beatbox album that I've listened to front to back. I've heard like maybe a beatbox song here and there before, but like it doesn't hit the waves like, you know what I mean, all these other mainstream kind of things do. It's definitely more of a subset of the culture, right? So it's more niche, but man, did I like enjoy listening to this. Like, this was just such a different project for me. And maybe it's because I'm new. I'm like, it's very shiny, and you know what I mean? It's like, it's brand new for me still. But talk about how that project came about, and then how do you put together a beatbox album? Like, what story do you tell with that?
So this is the Lava Shark EP was my first actual production, like full, like, all right, I'm not just recording my friend playing the guitar or me playing the guitar and like not doing anything with it. This was like my first attempt at trying to actually mix and produce something.
Yeah.
And my best friend Neil were like, because we both entered as a duo for the American Beatbox Championships.
Right.
And we needed to come up with a name, so we were like, we'll do Lava Shark, because like Shark Boy and Lava Girl, we were just messing around.
I literally was gonna ask. I was like, did that come from that?
Yeah. And we were laughing like, oh no, that's such a stupid name. And we're like, and then the deadline was coming closer. We're like, oh god, we need a name. They were like, I guess we'll call ourselves Lava Shark.
We're going with it. Oh no, they went with it.
And so we went with it, put it in, and then unfortunately we didn't make it to get into to actually battle. Yeah. But it was like a nice step for us, because we were like, well, we have a chance to do it, because I had been performing for I think 4 years at a open mic night at a bar, and I would beatbox and everything. I always wanted Neil to come with me, but he was off in college, up in Connecticut, so he never had a chance. But when he graduated and then he came down, we brought him in, and then from then on we were like the duo beatboxers. Everyone wanted to come see us, and he put us at the end of the night. And then we're like, yo, we should kind of just, because everyone would ask like, yo, do you guys have like something out that we can probably, like,
that's when you know you got to make music. That's when, like, you know,
yo, we should do something. And so we would just kind of take some of our routines that we would try and remember, that we were like, that kind of would hit hard with the crowd.
Right. Like, do you remember how you did that one thing that one time?
Yeah, do you remember how, was that like a K snare? Yeah. Or was that a double kick? And so we forced ourselves to actually, because we would always, when we would beatbox there, we would always kind of step on one another, like not on purpose, but it was just, we didn't have that synergy of like, when you're doing this, what do I do? And so I don't step over what you're doing. Right. And then we just force ourselves to sort of get better and better. And then we decided, like, all right, we have a couple things, and that EP is kind of like a mix of like a couple like weird things that we were like just attempting to do, because we didn't have much music written in terms of
and
what
why
we
not?
do.
You know,
so
put something out there. You know.
Yeah. So we like forced ourselves, put things together, and we're actually this year, hopefully we're going to force ourselves to actually get back into it, do another EP. And
you guys should, because you know why people aren't doing this kind of thing. Like, they're not putting together like projects like this, you know. There's obviously like, I think there's lots of people attempting to do stuff like this, but like it you know, it did sound good, you know, and there is potential there, at least in my opinion. I thought it sounded good. So when you're you know, approaching a project like that, do you go into it with an intentional, like, all right, are we trying to tell a story, or like are we having a message with this, or is this just, you know, can we like make this the dopest sounding project that we can? Like, what is like kind of the goal when you go into it?
So for our goal, we're just like, we just want to make music. Yeah. So our goal is just, let's put something together and get it out there. And then as we're creating, the message or the storyline kind of comes along as we're like, because our goal is like, him and I, we'll kind of BS around every time when we jam or whatever, and we'll eventually like force ourselves to kind of come into a groove and lock into something. And then and then for us, when we I don't know, he's not here, but I'm gonna say, when we do force ourselves into like actually making music, I think that's him and I, we come up with some of our best stuff and some of our most creative stuff that actually has depth to it. That's not just like something on the surface level that you can tell that like, oh, we're just freestyling to kind of just have a bit of fun. We're actually like, we're creating something now.
Which song to you has the most depth on the project?
I think Sitting in the Rain.
Sitting in the Rain.
Because that whole song actually came from a joke that him and I had one night. We were kind of, you know, doing some things that we probably shouldn't as kids. And it was raining outside, and we were like, oh man, we should sit outside. And I came up with the joke. I just kind of looked at him and I'm like, hey, you know, it's nights like these where I like to go on long walks and just sit in the rain. And he just started cracking up. And that was just an ongoing joke between us. And then one day we were kind of playing a song, and then he was like, you know what, he started writing lyrics to this song we started coming up with, and he was like, we're going to use that line, Sitting in the Rain, and and then we based the song off that. He wrote the lyrics for it, and then I wrote the riff and the guitar solo, and we sort of went off, and we're like, this song is going to build up and have like a crazy beatbox like interlude towards the end, and
that's crazy. It's so interesting to hear how these things come together. I that's why I was looking forward to this. My favorite song is Mad Money because
thank you.
You know why? Because like, and the thing about it is because it's like you kind of rap a little bit on it just because of like the Mad Money kind of like I call it a voice scratch because it's it's not like you're not really scratching, but you're kind of like, you know, mad money mad, you know,
mad money
right. And I was like, yo, that sounds so dope. And so I'm calling it a voice scratch, but like you know, coming up with that kind of stuff, like that's gotta just feel cool. You know, when you're like onto something and you're on a roll and you're like, wait a minute, this could be something.
Yeah,
you know, that's the Mad Money vibe. It was like all of a sudden I was like, he probably did this maybe on accident, and then it kind of turned into something.
Oh, we came up with that because we were pissed off of being broke and working as porters in the city and working like that was like we came up with that routine because we were just mad at our jobs. We just did not want it. As kind of like again like as a little bit of a joke, we were just like, yo, let's just say like fuck money, like mad. It's like it's money is driving us mad, like making us crazy.
Right.
And we came up with it, and we were just, and that sort of went off, and then we kind of just stuck with that line.
The energy was definitely higher on that one. Like you could definitely feel it. Was that you doing the Mad Money part on it?
Yeah,
that was you. Yeah, I was like, that was definitely him. That was just cool for me. I don't know. Do you like? That's why I ask you. Do you think you might want to get into rapping more because I hear these subtle hints of, you know what I mean, MC shit.
So I definitely do try. I definitely write lines down. I definitely like daydream about freestyling, and then when I'm like kind of alone in my room or whatever, I'm like listen to a song. I'm like, I can.
When nobody's within 10 miles of you, right?
I can like
same.
I can say like open up, and because on my EP, I do have a rap song on it,
right?
Where I am rapping on it, and I did not want to put it on there. I was just like I definitely hate the sound of my own voice, and like I sound like such a nerd rapping on
right. Even when we put the headphones on just now, you were like, whoa, this is weird listening to your own voice. That's also partly why I take the headphones off, to be honest. But
but credit to my best friend Neil, he forced me to put it on, and like I don't know if people are just being nice or like people are like, yo, you sound really good on it, and like it sounds good. I'm like, oh, thank you, because you're just I was so not gonna like
thanks for blowing my ego up. Right.
I'm like, I'm so never putting my voice on anything, but that has definitely I definitely do want to try, and I definitely do consider myself being like a frontman at times because
totally,
like my favorite band is the Hives, and they're like this punk rock band from Sweden, and they are in your face, and the frontman Howlin' Pele, he is the ultimate frontman in my eyes because you can't take your eyes off him, and he just draws you in, and he has this. He jokes about it during the shows where he's like, I have trained in a monastery in Tibet with these monks. I have mastered the art of mind control. And
it's like, what the hell are you talking about,
you're
bro?
Like, what are you talking about? But I'm so...
You can't look away.
I'm so drawn in. Like, I believe you, but I know you're talking shit.
Right.
And like, my favorite, because I love watching videos of them performing live because they have a YouTube video of them playing in New York.
Yeah.
And he splits the crowd in this tiny ass club in half. Everyone's like pushing up against each other.
Right.
He walks down in the middle of everyone. He's like, okay, on the count of 3, I want every one of you to run at me and crush me like a bug.
Oh, what the hell?
And you're like, what? And he's like, and they're still playing the song.
Yeah.
And as he's like, 1, 2, and the beat comes in, the guitars, everything, and he's singing, and he's trying to run to the stage, and everyone's kind of like moshing.
It's like a game.
And he's jumping.
It's like a race. Can you get there before they crush them?
And he doesn't make it, unfortunately, but he's still singing with the microphone and jumping around, and everyone's singing with him, and it is the best. And for me, that I always dream about trying to be that type of frontman. Always trying to because I love bringing people in. I love having that energy, even though I'm such an awkward like introvert. Like in reality, I love that ability to kind of come out and sort of be crazy and have it be okay.
All right, what are your live shows like?
So our live shows is,
if you have to describe your own live show.
My own live show, definitely a baby Bambi walking because
Yeah.
I get so nervous. I get such bad stage fright.
I
But
feel that.
definitely, it's more like once I start locking in
Hmm.
to the groove, then I feel like I can actually kind of experiment and be out there. And
Right.
definitely when Neil and I perform, we're definitely we're not butting heads, not
Yeah.
like to like be at each other's throats, but we're more
Yeah.
butting heads just to sort of like, are you the front man or am I the front man? Because we're
Right.
both. It's just the two of us. Who are like, what do we do?
Right. What's our It's
Yeah.
finding chemistry like
Yeah.
on stage is just like finding chemistry as a music group.
Yeah.
You know, because and like I didn't really do a ton of performance, but when I was kind of going through my artist phase, like trying to figure out how to work a crowd is, you know what I mean, like just as difficult as working with an
Yeah.
impossible producer. It's really hard to do. You know, because you have to feed off the energy, but also you have to create your own
Yeah.
at the same time.
And it's when I first started beatboxing, when I was doing the open mic nights
Yeah.
at this bar, like when it was just me. When I first started doing it, it was such a shock.
Right.
Like for me, because seeing people's reaction to like, what is going on? Is he doing that
It's
with
totally
his mouth?
different.
And like,
Right.
I like people like really enjoyed it, and then people like after a few times, people wanted to see, and like
Right.
people would come to see me perform Muzo like for 5 minutes,
Right. Right.
which was like insane to think about. But it was more like, it was like because you can see the people because
Right.
we're at a bar and like someone's sitting like
Right. It's
right
not
in
like,
front of you,
Right. It's not a huge stadium. Yeah.
so you can see them being like, and like, oh, you really hate what I'm doing, and you really like what I'm doing, and you're just confused,
And you're just gonna hear.
and like, it's sort of like, how do you sort of ignore the like the awkward stares or like the
Yeah.
like why are you doing this sort of, because that puts you off, and that put me off for like a long time, just seeing people's
Yeah.
reaction like oh, because I'm such a giver at heart, like
Yeah.
I'm such a softie.
Yeah.
So I always try and make people like comfortable. I'm always
Right.
like the person to try and be nice and like
Mhm.
bring people in. So seeing someone like awkward, like is like really confused or like has
Yeah.
this weird reaction to me beatboxing, like, and I can see them like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Like, what
Right.
is like,
Like,
how
what
do
the
how do I tune that out so I can
Yeah.
actually just perform and like bring them in and try and
Right.
bring in the awkwardness. and bring it
You're
in.
growing the beatbox community a ton by doing, open mics, like things like that, because like what you just said, people are interested in it, they like the sound. It's probably the first time they've heard something like that, or the second or third, they probably
Yeah.
haven't heard it much.
Or just seeing it on YouTube, and then
Right.
seeing beatboxing on YouTube, one, it can sound dope and everything. It won't blow your mind as much as hearing it in person
Yeah.
and then hearing it through a sound system. Because like
I totally agree.
when people hit like a bass sound, it's like you feel it. Like it's not it's equivalent to like when like someone hits like a sub really hard in like a hip hop song or whatever. It's
Right.
like, this is like, oh, they're doing this with their face.
Yeah.
And it hits that hard, like, whoa.
It is wild. Even when you were just warming up right now, I was kind of like, whoa. I heard it from walking from down the hall, and I was like, yo, you think he's warming up? This is kind of wild. I wanted to just one more question about about Scatterbrain before we move on to kind of some of some of the more like beatbox collective stuff that you work on. My favorite was War Torn Night.
Thank
Which
you.
is kind of which is maybe a little bit of an interesting one. No vocals really on that song. That's pure music. So did you do all the production on that? Is that all you?
Everything.
Yeah.
So all mixing, all instrumentation, mixing, mastering. That's
all you. Wow.
That's all me.
I really like that one. How did like when no beatboxing on that one, right? No, it was all musicality, right? So
Yeah.
like a totally different direction than any of the beatboxing stuff. Is that just you trying to be like, all right, what else can I do with this? Or is that just you have an urge to be musical?
Yeah, I love music scores to movies, and like I love ambient music in terms of just like that puts you in a storyline. And I had actually written a little short story for that, and I was like, oh man, I would love to like, it would be cool to have like a little short film for this. Or so since I don't have like any like camera crew or any of that kind of like skills, so I thought, let me do what I can do, which is music, and tell a story through music. And It's basically like the scene is basically like you're in the middle of the trenches in like this crazy war where there's like it's basically like robots versus humans, and it's like what is the last sort of what's the last remains of like this torn up town.
It has this very like ominous kind of like, because it's you know, it's violin, it's slower in pace, you know, it's got this epic kind of like cinematic feel to it, you know, where it's very big, you know, it's not it's like what, it's like 2.5 2 minutes long, it's not super long, but it gives you everything you need kind of in that 2 minutes, you know, so you pack a lot in there in terms of bigness of sound. Was that kind of the goal, just to make it sound big?
Yeah, and I think my main goal was to sort of, when I listen to it, can I picture the story that I wrote?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so I wanted to try and convey that. So if it needed to be big, needed to be small, it was sort of, what can I do to make it like this? And sort of, I was scrolling through Ableton, just sort of violin sounds, going through like delay plugins, and sort of, I have this little like toy pocket operator that I got as a Christmas gift, and I was sampling that in through and sort of remixing everything, and that was such a fun project. Just to sort of, what can I do to kind of make something that tells a story without having just any words to say.
Yeah, no, that was such a cool one. Yeah, so in terms of like equipment, what do you use to produce with? What are some of your, and like I know you have a mic here too that you brought that we might not need, but what is some of your favorite things to use?
So I use Ableton, like I said,
and you choose over Logic. You'd rather do that over? Is that just like a personal preference thing?
So I used to use Logic a bit, and then I was always curious about Ableton, so I wanted to try it, and then so I got the free version, and then sort of kind of worked my way up, and I started to really like it. It just seemed, for me, I seemed to work faster in it, and to do a lot more through Ableton. It just seemed to sort of fit how my mindset kind of works, because like I like tinkering. Like I'm a mechanic during the day, so I love tinkering and like fixing things and stuff. So Ableton just seemed to fit that route. And then I have a MacBook, and then I use a little Universal Apollo interface, and then I have just some studio monitors, and I have just a basic MIDI keyboard. And I have my guitar stuff, and then that's basically it.
Do you have a studio at home?
I do. It's in my bedroom. It's not impressive at all, because it's just stuck in the corner in my small ass bedroom.
That's all you need, though. I used to have, when I was recording, I used to have a studio in the basement, in the closet under the stairs, you know, because it was like the perfect size room, and you just throw up a, you know, like a big bed sheet, which I stole one. I was in like, this must have been early high school. I stole one of my mom's like really good ones, but I didn't realize it. It was like one of her like nice bed sheets or whatever. But I was like, oh, this is perfect for like recording studio sound optimizing. You know what I mean? And so I used that. And it took her a long time to notice that I used like one of her best ones. Anyway, long story short, like I had a mini home studio too. It wasn't much, right? It was like, I didn't even have studio monitors. I had 5 little like speakers that my uncle used to use for a home studio that he just like threw in our basement one year. And I was like, I'll use these, and had a home studio with Logic and a MacBook, and that was it. You know, that's all you need these days.
Yeah, that's really all you need with the way technology is.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really all you don't need much to make music now, but it's also so nice when you're just kind of looking at like gear and everything. You're like, oh, it's so shiny.
Right.
I just want it.
Totally can nerd out about it.
Yeah.
We could nerd out for gear for another hour. I could go
started
down the rabbit hole, you know. But I want to get to some of the stuff that like I found to be some of the most interesting. So I was telling you earlier, beatboxing culture for me is new. You know, relatively new to it. I want to hear about the Beatbox House, because when I looked you guys up, this is like an incredible collective of some of the best beatboxers in the world.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe talk a little bit about just like how you're involved and like, you know, beatboxing with some of these guys and what the vibe is like around this place.
Yeah, so the Beatbox House, they're my buddies, Chris Lees, Jun Shinazaki, Amit, Kenny Urban, Napalm. They're all world class beatboxers. They are insane. Like, they blow my mind every time I see them.
Yeah.
And they've been around for a few years now, and they do shows. They're heavily involved with American Beatbox, doing the championships every year, and they have basically a house party. They're like the Beatbox house party every month, usually towards the end of the month. Yeah. And they just have basically like a little cypher session where we show off local beatboxers, get local musicians to kind of show up and just be involved in the scene to grow the community.
Yeah.
And I don't know what their latest projects are, because sometimes they keep some things secret close to the heart till they release it.
Yeah.
But oh man, they're like, and I met them.
Yeah, how'd you guys meet?
I met them 5 years ago. They were doing a show in Union Square, and my best friend Neil and I were like, we have to meet these. We have to go meet these guys and just at least say hi. At least try and get involved, because
totally.
Because him and I, we were on the outside of the beatbox community for so long. We were just mainly watching YouTube videos and just nerding out with one another. And we're like, then we found out about the beatbox house, and we're like, we got to meet these guys so we can like inject our way into the scene.
Right.
And then we found out they had a show in Union Square one day. We took the train down, and the train got delayed, so we missed the show.
No.
We were like, no. But we had, his girlfriend at the time was down there, and she like started talking to them.
Yeah.
And we were like, just hold them there while we can like
we
get there.
Yeah.
We got out and we ran as fast as we could to see them, and like we met them. They're like, hey guys, and they were just chilling.
Yeah.
And they were like, why are you guys out of breath? We're like, we just missed the show. We were like, we're running this track over here. And then we started talking to them, like, and then kind of history started from there. I started taking beatbox lessons with Chris Elise, the founder of the Beatbox House, and just sort of getting involved, hanging out with them, going to their shows, and then eventually I was a bouncer for the show for a while, and then kind of helping occasionally with like gear and everything. And then through them, I started working with American Beatbox, doing audio and video for the American Beatbox, and then working the events with them for a while. And
that's dope.
Yeah, they're probably the best beatboxers around. Like,
that's crazy,
hands down.
And it makes sense that they're in New York. I mean, this is where hip hop was founded. You know, this is a dope place to do it. But like, I think you told me about an event that was right before Christmas, and I couldn't make it. Just there was so much going on around that time. Yeah. Is that one of the shows that you're talking about?
That's one of the shows.
So what's the vibe like? Are these shows more on like the hype side, or like are people going hard beatboxing, or are they more on the low key side?
People go so hard.
It's
this weird mix of everyone's super chill and everyone wants to like talk to you and vibe out, but then everyone goes so hard with beatboxing.
And we also want to hear some crazy ass beatboxing.
Yeah. And they're like, when everyone battles, like they're like, oh, this is fun.
Listen, because I was like, because for the camera, the people that don't know, because you mentioned this show to me, but I couldn't make it. It was just we had the COVID thing going on, all this. Oh, yeah. Throw the invite next time. I would love to check out one of these shows. Definitely. That would be dope. That's my self invite. I'm inviting myself to the next one.
And check out the Beatbox House on Instagram.
Yes, you know what we'll do? We'll link I'll put links to everything, that way everybody can click. Because honestly, if you guys are listening, it is a dope community. Like when I looked it up, I was online for I was at work and I got distracted because I was just like, let me just look this up. And like throughout the week, I was looking at all your stuff, and I was like, this website. First of all, the website's dope, and like you read about all the artists, they're all listed out there, all the ones you named. I think like Apom or Napalm and all these other guys. Like I recognize the names. And like hearing their stories is like so cool how they all kind of found this same group or community right here. Yeah, they all come from all over. It's really cool. So if you guys have the chance to check it out, you absolutely should. Do you guys travel and do shows at all?
I don't travel with them. They do.
They do.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're traveling this year. I think they are. I think they have some big stuff planned. Yeah. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for them.
Absolutely. In terms of like, the potential, like in terms of just like beatboxing as a culture, like how do you see kind of beatboxing continue to grow?
Oh man, it's from when I got invested into it, it's sort of all I was watching was the battle videos and like the little shout out videos they had on Swiss Beatbox, and like it's crazy to think because I had Swiss Beatbox. The YouTube channel is the main pretty much source for everything beatbox for internationally.
And what's it called? Swiss Beatbox?
Swiss Beatbox.
Okay, cool. I'm going to look that up.
And it was crazy because when I was watching them, they had like barely like 50,000 subscribers or whatever. And they were just barely getting like a few hundred views on each video, minus the big like world championship videos. And now they're at like, I think, 4 million plus and all this, and like each video gets like 1 million views, and it's like it's insane. And seeing the community, like it was still such a niche community,
right?
And then now it's blown up so big, and there's so many young beatboxers and young people that are just pushing the culture forward in terms of sound generation, musicality, pushing like what we can do. Because now there are a lot of artists like Reaps One and shout out to Mark Martin, Kayla Malay. They're also New York beatboxers that have been in the beatbox house.
Dope.
And they're doing like speech therapy through beatboxing.
It's incredible.
Reaps One is doing like AI controlled art through beatboxing.
That's crazy.
Which is mind blowing to see what he's able to do.
That's wild. You're definitely gonna come back in for another. We're gonna break this. Yeah, we're gonna break this down even because we're almost out of time, which I'm sad about now. But you know, we're at the point where I know you brought a beatbox you're gonna do for us, but also at the same time, like we need to dive further into this culture. So we're definitely gonna have you back, Zanzi, because this has been so dope for me. I guess, you know, just my last question is what's the vision for yourself as an artist? You know, I mean, this whole interview, you know, the entire time we've been talking about all these different styles of music. You know, you said you've grown up on classic rock and all these other types. So, you know, for yourself as an artist, like, you know, where do you see yourself heading in the next few years? And, you know, where do you see your music going?
Definitely pushing the envelope to try and do more live shows, and definitely... Because I'm still forming my sound as like a one piece sort of as a solo artist.
Oh, totally.
In myself, and like how do I perform the music that I create in my home studio? How do I perform it live? And and also how do I perform with my best friend? Like how do we like push the envelope for what? Because we're both rockers at heart, but we're also like we also just want to beatbox and just make crazy sounds and blow people's minds. So like,
for sure,
we're definitely just developing that and just honing in that craft of kind of combining all the different styles of music that we love playing into just one concise package.
That's crazy. The one question that I forgot to ask that is on my sheet is, have you ever thought about doing an album where you're beatboxing solely on it and then you just have a bunch of rappers come in and feature on your song? So it's like you're beatboxing every song, but then you have rappers coming in to feature? Or is that not really how, like, cause like, you know, that to me sounds like a pretty obvious path, but like it could not be for whatever reason.
You know, I never even thought about it, and I would love to do that. So
So you heard it here. I'm getting my 10%.
Yes.
And I'm getting my 10. No, but I'm just like, that idea hit me today, and I was like, I wonder if he's ever thought about this, because like that would be dope.
Because I always wanted to do a beatbox album with just solely me beatboxing and just kind of solidify my like beatbox routines.
Yeah.
But I never thought about just doing like, because I always love performing with rappers, and I love having that. Being able to change up a style. The
dynamic is sick. The Prolific One show is what inspired me, because I was like, yo, do you think, first of all, shout out to Prolific for, you know what I mean? Like having that sound in his head where he was like, I need to have someone on stage with me, because you guys complemented each other well. But also I was thinking, yo, it could literally be a whole show where like Zanzi is just freestyling the whole time, and these rappers are just walking on and off the stage like DJ Khaled or some shit. That'd be wild.
Oh, and like I've had shows where like, either at the open mic nights or whatever, like people are just like, yo, just keep beatboxing, I want to hop on in this, and like, and some people were just wild. Amazing. Others, you know, we're like, okay, it's time to stop.
It's time to hang up the mic.
Hang up the mic. I think you've had a little too much tequila.
Right. Like let's tone it down. Well, listen, Zanzi, this has been such a dope conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming in and sharing some knowledge. I feel like I learned so much about beatboxing today. I'm gonna like hit the streets and like, you know what I mean, start to like seek this stuff out and try to find it, because it sounds like a dope community, like one that I definitely want to be more a part of. So if there's any like events or anything that you know what I mean are coming up, like let me know. If there's anything that we can help out with, you know what I mean. If you want like extra people there to just like bring attention to it, let us know, because anything that we could do to help grow this community, I'm about.
Definitely.
You brought a beatbox for us. I'm gonna stick these headphones on because I think it's about to be better. But I'm gonna push the mic away because we had a freestyle. It's actually funny. I had a freestyler come in here and do a freestyle, and I was sitting here and I was like, how the hell am I supposed to act when like they're just like they're spilling their art and I'm just sitting here? Am I supposed to just nod my head? So I started ad-libbing it, and I was like, and then I read it. I looked at it back like the next day, and I was like, I just don't know if I ad-libbed very well. Like I'm not Quavo, you know, I'm not the Migos. I don't know if I have it. So I'm gonna stick the mic out here this time because this is all sounds, and I don't know how I'm about to ad lib a beatbox. So this is all you.
Just jump in and freestyle. Just
I guess I could just start. Yeah, my rhyme's gonna be I'm at the top and I won't stop.
Yeah.
No, that's gonna be what my rhymes are. But I'm gonna push the mic. If I feel like I might start ad libbing, I might grab the mic back. I don't know. You might not be able to contain me.
And tell me when the stop, because I can just keep going forever.
I'll clock you in at about like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll call it. But thank you for coming in and doing this, man. This has been insane. So
I appreciate this so much. Thank you.
The mic is yours.
Thank you. Here we go. What do I do? It's all freestyle. What do I do here? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let me hit you with the. Yeah, I make moves like this. I make these grooves like this because I wanna make it move. Yeah, I wanna make it move. Yeah, I wanna make it move. Yeah, I wanna make it.
Wow.
I got magic in my brain all the time. I got magic in my brain all the time, and it's making me mad, yeah, like mad money, mommy, mama, yeah, Oh, I fucked up.
Oh,
but it's
shit.
okay.
Bring it home, Zanzi. Bring it home.
It's time for podcast.
Oh shit! Yo, I didn't see. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, man. When everybody's up here fucking killing it, I'm just out here like I'm nodding my head because like I don't know. And then I look back on the camera, I'm like, look at how fucking awkward you look, Michael. And then I'm trying to ad lib, and I'm like, yo, my voice just doesn't sound good over top of this art. Listen, thank you so much for coming in today, showing love, blessing the mic. We appreciate it. We're definitely going to have you come back in and spread some more knowledge with us about this. But, man, Zanzifx, go check them out. Links are in the bio. This has been Cypher and Zanzi. Peace.
Have a good night.